The only way to guarantee results is
by dropping the bomb ourselves.
Fallout has always been a franchise built on moral ambiguity. The world ended, but the arguments didn't. Every faction believes it has the right answer for how humanity should survive the ashes of nuclear war. But with Fallout Season 2, the show is quietly making one of its boldest changes yet. It's not just introducing new monsters or expanding the Wasteland. It's redefining who the real enemy is. And that enemy is the Enclave. What makes this shift so important is that it doesn't just change the story of the show, it fundamentally alters the role the Enclave has played across decades of Fallout lore. The TV series isn't simply adapting the games anymore. It's rewriting the power structure of the post-war world. A faithful adaptation. Until now, up to this point, Fallout has largely respected the DNA of the games. The tone, the humor, the cruelty, and the moral rot of the old world all translate beautifully to television. Even when the show explores new vaults and new characters, it feels like it belongs in the same universe. For longtime fans, that familiarity created a sense of confidence. People with deep knowledge of the games could often predict where things were heading. Certain factions behaved the way they always had. Certain technologies meant specific consequences. But that comfort is starting to crack. Season 2 signals that Fallout is no longer content to stay safely within established lore. Instead, it's positioning itself to challenge it. And nowhere is that clearer than in how the Enclave is being portrayed. The Enclave's first crack in Season 1. The seeds were planted early. In Fallout Season 1, we meet Siggy Wilzig, an Enclave scientist who defects from the organization and steals cold fusion technology. His decision to deliver it to Lee Moldaver immediately reframes the Enclave as something darker than a forgotten remnant. In the games, the Enclave is often treated as a shadow of the past, a collapsed continuation of the pre-war US government that survives only in isolated pockets. They're dangerous, but limited. A faction whose time has already passed. The show disagrees. By making Wilzig's defection such a pivotal moment, Fallout reframes the Enclave not as history, but as an active, ongoing threat. The Ron Perlman revelation changes everything. Then comes Season 2, Episode 6. A super mutant, played by Ron Perlman, reveals a truth that sends shockwaves through Fallout lore. The Enclave created the Super Mutants. Not just them, but the forced evolutionary virus itself, and by extension the Death Claws. This is a massive departure from the games. In traditional Fallout canon, the Enclave despised mutants. They viewed them as contamination, proof that the world had strayed too far from pure humanity. Their ideology centered on extermination, not creation. But the TV show flips that narrative. Here, the Enclave didn't just inherit the consequences of the old world, they engineered them. That single change repositions the Enclave from elitist survivors to architects of the Wasteland's horrors. Why this change matters? This isn't a minor retcon. It transforms the Enclave into something far more dangerous than they've ever been before. Instead of being reactionary villains trying to reclaim control, they become proactive manipulators, a faction willing to sacrifice entire populations to shape the future. And that makes them the perfect central antagonist. Because unlike Raiders, Brotherhood factions, or even Vault Tech, the Enclave believes they're justified. They believe the ends justify the means. They believe the world belongs to them by birthright. That belief makes them far more terrifying than chaos ever could. The Super Mutants aren't just monsters anymore. This shift also redefines the Super Mutants. They're no longer just tragic experiments wandering the wasteland. They're survivors with memory, purpose, and rage. The Ron Perlman character doesn't ask for pity. He demands recognition. Recognition that his kind was created, weaponized, and discarded. And now, they're preparing for war. The Super Mutant makes it clear. The Enclave wants them erased. And this time, the mutants won't go quietly. Fallout isn't building toward a simple good versus evil conflict. It's building toward a war between victims and creators. A war that's still coming. Season 2 doesn't give us that war yet, and that's intentional. With only 2 episodes left, the show is laying groundwork, not pulling triggers. The Enclave still operates from the shadows. The Super Mutants are organizing. The Wasteland is holding its breath. Season 3 is where the real collision likely happens. And when it does, the Enclave won't be a footnote faction anymore. They'll be the ideological heart of the conflict, a symbol of the old world refusing to die. Norm MacLean's discovery changes his path. While Lucy MacLean continues her journey on the surface, uncovering her father's lies and the brutal truths of the Wasteland, her brother Norm is walking a very different road. Norm stayed behind in the vault longer. He learned how systems lie, how authority hides behind procedure. And now, on the surface, he's uncovering something far more dangerous than family secrets. The forced evolutionary virus. Norm's discovery of FEV places him directly on a collision course with the Enclave. While Lucy's arc is emotional and personal, Norm's is intellectual and systemic. He's not chasing answers about who people are. He's uncovering what the world was designed to become. And that may put him one step ahead of his sister. Two siblings, two truths. This split is crucial. Lucy represents the human cost of the Wasteland. Norm represents the machinery behind it. When, not if, they reunite, the fallout won't just be emotional. It will be ideological. Lucy may learn who her father is, but Norm may uncover what the Enclave truly is. And that knowledge could decide the future of the Wasteland. Why the Enclave works better this way. By repositioning the Enclave as the central antagonist, Fallout gains something the games rarely sustain long-term, a unifying enemy with philosophical weight. Raiders are chaos. The Brotherhood is dogma. Vault-Tec is greed. The Enclave is control. They embody the idea that the apocalypse didn't end the world. It perfected its worst instincts. And that makes them the perfect villains for a story that isn't just about survival, but about accountability. Fallout isn't replacing the games, it's expanding them. This doesn't mean the show is disrespecting the source material. Instead, it's doing what great adaptations do, asking new questions using familiar pieces. What if the Enclave never disappeared? What if they were always pulling strings? What if the monsters were never accidents? Fallout's TV series isn't rewriting history for shock value. It's reframing the moral landscape of the franchise for a new era. And if Season 2 is the warning, Season 3 will be the reckoning. This provides a really sharp perspective on how the show is consolidating its villains.